afternoon, everybody. I'm Trace Gallagher in for Martha McCallum. Breaking right now on the story, we are awaiting potential live remarks from attorneys after the landmark verdict here in Los Angeles that will have a major impact on the way that kids use social media in this country. The jury finding that Meta and Google played a role in the depression and anxiety suffered by a young woman who used their platforms. They decided the companies acted with negligence and malice and failed to warn users about the dangers of their platforms. Now, the jury was not unanimous. Civil trial doesn't have to be. In its decision, Meta says it is evaluating legal options. Attorneys Josh Ritter, Brian Claypool, and Jonathan Turley are all here. But first, to the senior correspondent, Eric Shawn. He's live with the very latest on this. Eric.
Yeah, hi, Trace. Meta and YouTube, as you say, found liable for harming the mental health of a young person who says her depression and anxiety were caused by social media. The landmark verdict coming as the jury right now at this hour is weighing additional punitive damages. And when that verdict was announced, parents of teenagers who blame social media for their deaths were seen out court, as you see here, hugging after the verdict. They said that they were vindicated. The jury awarded $3 million in compensatory damages, split 70% for Meta, 30% by YouTube to the young plaintiff. She is now 20 years old. She's only known as Kaylee, or by her initials, KGM. She had claimed that the social media sites are addictive and damage her mental health. She says she started watching YouTube when she was 6 years old and accuses the companies of not doing enough to protect young users. Well, Facebook founder and Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg was a star witness at the trial. He testified that protecting young people, he claimed, was always a corporate priority. But the defense provided documents that showed the companies targeted young people before they were even teenagers. Though the company said there's no scientific proof, their platforms are connected to the mental health issues that we see across the country in young people. Kaylee's lawyer issuing the following statement saying, quote, "The evidence showed that Meta and YouTube knew their platforms were hooking children and harming their mental health. And instead of fixing the problem, they kept developing features to maximize the time kids spent on their apps. Now our jury has told them this is not acceptable and you are being held accountable." Meta says it disagrees with this verdict and says it is now weighing its legal options. By the way, Snapchat and TikTok, well, they settled lawsuits against them before this trial. But currently, Trace, there are about 2,000 other lawsuits against social media companies that are now pending across the country. Back to you.
Couple of hours, there might be 2,000 more. Eric Shawn live for us in New York. Eric, thank you. With me now, Josh Ritter, former prosecutor, criminal defense attorney, and Fox News contributor, and Brian Claypool, criminal defense attorney. Thank you both for coming on. Eric was saying there, Josh, you get punitive damages. We assume they're going to be significant. We know the $3 million was the early one. We're talking about the fact that, as Eric was saying, 2,000 lawsuits. Could be a lot more lawsuits on this thing, but nobody's writing checks right now.
No, nobody's writing checks right now, and that $3 million is not at all what they're worried about. It's the punitive damages, because in punitive damages, what they're talking about right now is the value of the companies. Yeah. The jurors are allowed to consider that in arriving at their award. They're allowed to consider, how will this hurt them? How will this be a punitive result for them, so that they understand that their conduct was something that not only was negligent, but was perhaps even intentional and causing harm? That's going to be the real problem. You're right. They're going to appeal it. This is going to drag on forever. No checks are going to be cut soon, because they need to fight this as these social media companies. If they don't, this is a huge tidal wave of lawsuits that are going to follow.
And I think the reason that no checks are being cut right now, Brian Claypool, is because Josh makes a good point. This thing is appealable. I mean, they think they've got grounds to maybe get this thing flipped over.
Yeah, Trace, this is a dangerous jury verdict. It's potentially catastrophic for social media. But look, they have an appeal based on two grounds. One is the legal causation here, right? Mm-hmm. Under California law, you've got to prove that the social media was a substantial factor in bringing about the harm. There were a lot of other factors here. It's called apportionment in California, where social media said, hey, you were having difficulty with your parents, you were being bullied at school. All of those factors contributed to the depression. So I find it hard how the jury believed that it was a substantial factor. And then one other point, under the Communications Decency Act, social media is not legally responsible for the third-party content on their platform. And if this plaintiff relied on looking at that content, to Josh's point, I don't see how legally this verdict can withstand.
And yeah, that's one of the big overdriving points is they're saying, listen, we are just providing you the platform. Y'all are the communicators, right? You guys are doing the communicating. We got nothing to do with that. We're just going to do this. You guys talk amongst yourselves.
Yeah, that was the argument up until now. And that's what was so clever about this lawsuit is they didn't treat this as, hey, we're coming after you because you're allowing harmful content. They said that we're coming after you for the product that you make. It's essentially a product liability case. They're saying that, no, the way you designed this platform, not the user's use of it and what they post, but the way that you designed it was inherently addictive and harmful to young people.
We got the lawyers right now for, we assume, for Meta and YouTube. They're going to speak. Let's listen in right now.